Good afternoon. We will now proceed to the briefing for the mayor's 2017 budget proposal. And again, I want to recognize Councilmember Jisa Page, Councilmember Hardin, Councilmember Brown, Elizabeth Brown, and Mitchell Brown. The proposal for the general operating fund is $869.5 million. As we have heard this afternoon, the city's financial position is stable. The 2017 budget proposal continues investments in safety, health, education, and neighborhoods, as well as other services that are essential for our residents. I would like to note that this briefing is the first in a series of hearings on the proposed 2017 budget. As mentioned, department directors or deputy directors or assistant directors will be providing summaries of their budgets this evening. There will be individual hearings for each committee, which will enable the members of City Council to examine each department's budget in detail. Further, residents have an opportunity to listen and give public comments at the hearings. To begin our discussion on the proposed 2017 operating budget, I would like to invite Auditor Hugh Dorian to provide an overview on the city's revenues. Good afternoon, Mr. Dorian.
Thank you, Ms. Tyson. And hello to all the council members. Thanks for letting me join you this evening. And I'm hoping my clicker works. Let's see. Earlier, I had given to each council member a document similar to this in which I made my guesses for 2017 and also gave you some historical data of the resources, what they looked like in previous years. So let me say, first of all, you'll find a copy of a very formal letter from me, which I sent to you earlier. I encourage you to read it because in the footnotes and so forth, there's a lot of explanatory material that I think you'll find interesting. I know Ms. Tyson is very familiar with this. We meet regularly to discuss city finances. So I'd like you to maybe focus on in the document, what we call page 1, if I can work this properly, and if I can see that far. You'll see that I am suggesting in 2017 we'll have total resources available of about $869.5 million. I like to point out, I will tell you where I think my guesswork is reasonable and going to come in on target, and I'll also tell you where I think I was wrong. But if we look at that page and we look at all the resources that come into the city of Columbus, I can pick out 5 or 6 of them and tell you which way the city's going to go. And in this case, I list 6. Obviously, income tax being the far and away the largest resource of the city. And I'll go into greater detail in each one of these. We have property tax, what we call shared revenues, charges to other funds, fines, EMS fees. You'll see those 6 items or 6 resources make up 94% of our general fund money. The other 6% are scattered, represent a myriad of smaller amounts and smaller resources. One of the areas that I'll comment on later, and the area that is vulnerable, is the projected carryover this year of $26.99 million, and I'll speak to that. Let me mention city income tax. Page 2 indicates some of the history since 2010 of our income tax. I chose 2010 as a kind of a barometer because that's the first full year after our income tax rate increase in 2009. You'll see that the increases over the years have run from 6%, 5%, 4%, and so forth. And I will tell you that my error for 2016 will most likely be I've revised the estimate to a 5% growth, and I'm having serious doubts as to whether we'll reach that 5% level. And the reason I have doubts is because we've been hit pretty hard by corporate tax refunds. Collections have been going okay, but the refunds have hurt us, in particular in November. Page 3 indicates to you a simple bar chart as to the growth percentages. You'll notice that big bar chart item in 2010. That simply reflects the income tax rate increase. One reason I like to show this bar chart in particular, I go back to the year 2001. So we're looking at 16, 17 years. Well, it's interesting that since the beginning of Columbus City income tax in 1948, there have been 5 years where what we kind of an oxymoron, we call it negative growth. 3 of those 5 negative years have occurred since 2001. And if there is a phenomenon that I see more and more of, it's the introduction of greater volatility in our resources. So I show you that for some history. Some would say the old auditor is so terribly conservative, looking at only 3%. Next year, I will continue to use 3%. And one reason is I look at that 5 and I tell myself, gee, Dorian, you were too generous. I don't think we're going to make 5. The next page shows you the history of the city income tax. I insult your intelligence, I think, when I say this to some of you. But, you know, in the state of Ohio, a city or a village can impose an income tax up to the rate of 1%. Once you attempt to go higher than 1%, you can only do so with a vote of the people. So up until 1961, the council imposed the income tax rate up to 1%. And then beginning in 1970, 82, and most recently in 09, the rate is now 2.5%. 75% of that money goes into the general operating fund. 25% of it goes to what we call a debt service fund. That helps pay for all the debt that the city has other than your enterprise funds, your utilities. Okay? Let's look at page 4, give you a little history of property taxes. There were 2 types of property taxes. Personal property tax. Personal property was defined simply as inventory and equipment used in business. That used to be a sizable resource for the city. And, of course, real property tax. Let me go to the next page to show you some of that detail. I'm looking at page 6. Personal property tax, look at that bar chart. Go back to the beginning of 2001, the city of Columbus, we would commonly get $5 or $6 million a year from that resource. You'll see at the tail end of the chart, 0. That occurred because of action of your friendly state legislature. There no longer is personal property tax. The next chart on page 7 shows you real property tax collections. And I want to make a special note of this because if you look at the last few years, you really don't see much movement. I'm hoping for a little bit of a movement next year in 2017. But for the last 4 or 5 or 6 years, there hasn't been much movement. My view is the reason there is not much movement, and you look around this city and you say, my golly, look at all these apartments, look at all these condos, look at all these businesses going up. They're all being exempted. How many 75% abatements can you remember going across your desk in the last few years? So I'm happy to have the real property tax, but it's not something that I look to with much growth anymore. The last 4 or 5 years in particular, hardly any growth at all. See if I can make a couple of points here. I'd like to point out also this next big resource that we call shared revenue. I know I'm going a little bit quickly because I want to take questions after we finish our comments here. These shared revenues are simply taxes collected by another entity, another governmental entity, with a portion of it being passed on to us. Local government funds, estate taxes that existed once, casinos, and liquor taxes. Let's look briefly at page 9 and look at these local government funds over the years. Another favor done to cities by the state legislature. Look at 2001. This is to show you the disappearance of resources by cities. $51 million in 2001. Now I'm looking at in that range of 20, 22 million, most likely. Very handsome resource, but boy, oh boy, it's a skeleton of what it once was. Estate taxes. For many years, you can look at that bar chart and see that estate taxes essentially averaged around $10 million a year that we would receive. Now you'll see zero. As a matter of fact, in 2015, we had to give a little bit back. Estate taxes were reduced to zero, a rate of zero, for any decedents after 12/31/2012. We will simply not see that resource again. It's kind of hard to replace $10 million a year. Casinos, you hear so much about casinos. Let's see what the casino tax revenue is. And I will tell you, from the initial days of casino deliberations and planning and so forth, the actual taxes coming in from casinos today are about half of what they were originally anticipated, about half. Let's take an example here on this chart. The casino here in Columbus opened in 2012, so you can see actually 2013 would be your first full year. Casino taxes are essentially flat. Looking at 2013, 10.2 million, 10.7, 10.5, 10.5, 10.8. I call that essentially flat. So what do we do with the casino tax money? Well, first of all, the agreement with the Franklin County Convention Facility Authority. We started out for the first 3 years of 2013, 14, and 15 of giving them 25% of the collections. In 2016, that rose to 26%. In 2017, it will be 27%. That will continue to rise 1% a year until it reaches 32% in the year 2022. So if we just look at 2017, we'll see that payment to the Convention Facility Authority will be about $2.9 million. You'll see a dash on the next line because part of the agreement was that we would pledge $2.5 million to a West Side Community Fund to be used at the discretion of council and the mayor for improvements in the casino area. And that commitment has been fulfilled in 2015, so we have no more to dedicate to that area. Principal and interest on city bonds, you'll see that's about $1,200,000 or $1,300,000 a year. As part of the agreement to get the casino into the city of Columbus, as opposed to outside the city limits, one bright morning I wired $15 million to the casino company to help them for infrastructure, et cetera. It really ended up legitimately being used primarily for land remediation, cleaning the land there. That was the old Delphi plant. Those bonds, we had borrowed money, $15 million, to pay to them, and that $15 million will be paid off over 20 years, with the final payment being in 2032. So that bottom line of $6,660,000, that goes into your general operating fund. Okay, so that's the much heralded casino taxes. That's what happens to it. This next chart of, we'd call it pro rata charges. It's really not revenue. What it is a redistribution or sharing of costs borne by the general fund that we send bills to the other funds for. The cost of the mayor's office, the cost of the council, the cost of the auditor's office, the cost of purchasing, et cetera, et cetera. So you have an ordinance on the books that tells us to charge, like the water fund, the sewer fund, et cetera, 4.5% of their revenues. That bar moves up or down depending upon water and sewer rates. So frankly, and I'm glad to say, water rates did not rise much this year, on an average less than 3%, which I think points to some pretty doggone good management by those two divisions. I've respected their management for many years. Let me mention, what page am I on? Page 13, fines. Fines have pretty much peaked. You'll see over the last 3 or 4 years, you're looking at $18 to $19 million. All of this money goes into the city's general fund. And out of that $18 million, about 2/3 of it, or $12 million plus, comes from different court fines, forfeitures of bonds, et cetera, and about $6 million of it from traffic fines and so forth. A very, very important fee, emergency services. You'll see that has pretty much peaked also over the last 3 or 4 years. But if you look back into earlier years, that was new money. That was a result of a finance advisory committee put together by Mayor Coleman many years ago. The first fee came in 2003. Director Mitchell Brown would be the expert on that over the years, but I think that has pretty much peaked now at around $15 to $16 million. I show to you on page 15, this is just general information showing you the numbers of employees. I like to start as a barometer at 12/31/08 and tell you that that was the year end before the income tax increase. So as an example, police on the payroll now, and of course some of these men and women might have been in Iraq or Afghanistan or somewhere else, but on the payroll, 1,903. Well, let's look at about, a month or so ago on October the 8th, we had 1,882. So we had fewer police officers after it all took place. Very, very a few additional firefighters, 4 or 5, and the other civilians and so forth. That's just a bit of information for you. The page 16, I like to demonstrate to you the history of water and sewer rates in Columbus, which I firmly believe have been very, very reasonable, very reasonable. And again, the rate increase for this 2017 on total of water, sewer, and storm sewer of about 2.9%. Page 17, I show you the unemployment rates over the past several years. I like to point out 2000 and 2001, that's when we all got spoiled. You look at unemployment rates of 2.5, 2 point this, 2 point that. And then, of course, if you look at those very, very bad years of 8, 9, 10, you're looking at 8% and 9% in some cases. So at the end of October, we get this data, by the way, from the Ohio Division of Jobs and Family Services. So we're looking at about a 3.9%, which is good, very good. Now, with all that narrative and all that talk, I always like to end a presentation by saying thank you for your attention. Sometimes the old auditor is considered overly conservative. Well, I wish I was, because I think I'm wrong on my income tax revenue estimate this year. I hope I'm not too wrong. But what does that basically mean? It basically means you won't have the $26.9 million carryover. Now, I will give you official notification probably January 1st or January 2nd, as early as possible. And what I'm telling you here tonight is no surprise to the Finance Department. Over the many years I've been auditor, I think it's just essential that the Finance Department and the Auditor's Office work closely together, don't keep secrets from each other. That's the only way I think management can work in the city and any place else for that matter. So that will conclude my comments, and I'll be happy to answer questions if I can do so.
Thank you, Auditor Dorian. Could you just talk a little bit about what you just mentioned about how the corporate tax refunds, affect this budget?
Yeah. Well, you operate in the city's general fund on net income taxes. Typically, income tax refunds would run, I'm going to say over the years, probably $20 million a year. About 85% of our income tax comes out of somebody's paycheck. About 10% from corporate profits. The other 5%, I like to say, the few remaining doctors and lawyers who have not yet incorporated. Corporations, many of them, have found that they overpaid. Remember, they pay on estimate. I like to say corporations, they don't pay taxes on their income during the course of a year. They're paying taxes on what they think their net income is going to be. And then they come down to a certain point and figure it out and say, gee, I owe some more, or I paid too much. So that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing a number of corporations seeking and receiving tax refunds of overpaying. Now that tells me, from my initial analysis, that there are several corporations out there who are not making the money they thought they were going to make. And I always say to myself, if that pattern were to persist, then at some point in time, layoffs will begin. You've already read about a few layoffs around Columbus. Now, I'm hoping seriously that we don't face that kind of an issue, but you always have to be prepared for it. And so that's the best I could tell you today.
Thank you for sharing that. As you said, this is really just, we found this out in, you said November.
Could I mention one other thing? I know we're talking
Yes.
about general operating funds, but I'd like to offer a couple of comments on what I call the capital side of the city. The city of Columbus, we have about $4.2 billion of outstanding debt. About 2/3, a little over 60% of that debt relates to water and sewer, sanitary sewer, storm sewer, and water. The other third, with a few exceptions to what I have to say, a few exceptions, but not great, is supported by income tax. So income tax drives what we borrow. We don't sit down and say, let's borrow X amount of money. We sit down with finance and say, how much can the city afford if we maintain certain coverages? So we've always, for many years now, and this is not statutory, this is me being right or wrong, but we've always followed a guide, and I've given to all of you what I call guidelines for our debt over the years. I always want a 1.5 coverage. If I know we're going to, as an example, this year we're paying out over $400 million in principal and interest on debt. Well, that portion attributable being supported by income tax, if I know I owe $100 million during the year, I want $150 million being available. And one might say, why? Look at that bar chart again. 08, 09, 02, 03. Don't let anybody talk you out of a 1.5. I'm not suggesting they are, but that's an important factor that you don't find in your city code. Okay? Very important factor. Now, what happens if you stray from that and we come to a point as to where, gee, we don't have enough income tax? The further you stray from those types of coverages, the closer you get to imposing a property tax from your voted debt. Now, the city has kept that promise for 60 years now. You go to the voters and say, give us your permission to borrow money, and we in turn say, we promise not to levy the tax. That's why these safeguards are in place. A lower estimate on the income tax revenue, hopefully lower, and then a coverage factor involved. That's to protect the city from ever having to go to the county budget commission and say, levy some property tax to help us pay our debt. And I will tell you, we came close to it one given year, 1982, trash burning power plant, we were severely in trouble. I can tell you a couple of those years we were subsidizing that plant $21 million a year. We put a tax budget together. I come to you in June with that document and ordinance, and we must file it with the county budget commissions in 3 counties no later than, I believe it's July 20th. We said to the budget commission, put a couple of mills, I don't remember the exact number, a couple mills of property tax on the people of Columbus next year to help us pay for that power plant. We also said, by the way, we're putting an income tax increase on the ballot in November of 1982. If that income tax increase passes, then we'll rescind our request for a property tax increase. So the poor citizens had to pick their poison. Did they want a property tax or an income tax? Well, they chose an income tax, and we in turn withdrew our request for a property tax. So I just mentioned that so I don't know that any of you were here at that time, but these things do happen, and there are reasons for keeping these safeguards. With that, I'll keep quiet, Ms. Tyson.
Thank you, and certainly we always enjoy you coming in and certainly sharing information with us regarding revenue. And you just mentioned again, I'm going to come back to this, but certainly, as you're saying, if the corporate profits aren't what they anticipated for the year of 2016, also long-term that can affect our income tax, as you were just, this is why, because if, you're right, if they're not necessarily making their profits, one place where they can make it is certainly not by keeping employees. And then we have that situation that would occur. And obviously, I know that Director Shoney is certainly working hard to try to retain and bring in new jobs to our city. But we certainly, this is a little bit concerning that that now we're looking at maybe our estimate being different just because of the corporate tax profits for the for 2017. But it's always a pleasure when you're in council chambers and certainly continuing to provide information with us so that we can be, really good financial stewards of the residents' money, and certainly want to make sure that we continue to spend our taxpayer money wisely. Well, the other thing I'll just ask you quickly, based upon if we were, you just mentioned about this 1.5 coverage, how important is that 1.5 coverage into factoring into us having this AAA bond rating?
Very important. Very important. Okay,
thank you very much for coming in and sharing the revenue structure. Thank you. All right. Now, to provide perspective on how the revenues will be spent, I want to again call on Director Lombardi to give an overview of the 2017 and a summary of the Finance Department's budget, and then concluding his briefing, and we will ask him any questions. Then I will invite department directors or their representatives to present on their budget highlights. Director Lombardi, the floor is yours. And I also want to announce that Councilmember Michael Stenziano has joined us. Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Tyson and members of council. On behalf of Mayor Ginther, I am pleased to present the administration's proposed 2017 operating budget. In accordance with the charter of the City of Columbus, this proposed budget is balanced and addresses the mayor's goals of safety, neighborhoods, early childhood development, economic development, diversity and inclusion, and operational efficiencies. As you can imagine, the development of the city's operating budget is a multi-step process that involves the cooperation and hard work of many people. I want to thank the staffs of the mayor's office, city departments, the city auditor, and city council. I want to express a special thank you to the outstanding and dedicated Finance and Management Department budget team Many of them are with us this evening, and their able assistance in developing this budget. This evening, I will present an overview of the general fund budget and then speak specifically about the Department of Finance and Management's proposed 2017 budget. Each department representative here with me this evening will provide details of his or her respective budgets as well. The total of the 2017 operating budget, when all funds are considered, is $1.76 billion. $869.5 million, or 49.5% of that budget, is for the operation of general fund divisions. My discussion this evening will focus on the general fund portion of the operating budget. The general fund budget funds all day-to-day operation that includes personnel, supplies, services, and operating capital items that are necessary to meet the levels of service for our community. Approximately 75% of the proposed budget will fund personnel. The 2017 budget is 4.1% higher than the 2016 original budget as amended and 5.8% over the third quarter projections. This budget continues to address the safety of our community, enhancing the quality of life in our diverse and unique neighborhoods and our children. Safety is important to the mayor, as reflected by the allocation of $577 million, or 66% of the total general fund budget, to the Department of Public Safety. This budget includes funding for a fire class of 25 and a police class of 35 that are scheduled to begin this month. As well, two fire classes and 2 police recruit classes in 2017, which will help us maintain staffing levels in our neighborhoods. One of the mayor's top priorities is the implementation of body-worn cameras. These are an important tool to promote positive interactions between the police and our community, as well as enhance public safety. This proposed budget includes funding for the first phase of the implementation of body-worn cameras, including personnel. Also included in the budget is funding for our neighborhood safety initiatives, such as the Community Safety Initiative. Columbus, like many other communities throughout the United States, has been affected with the opioid epidemic. This budget provides funding for the purchase of Narcan to equip more police and firefighters to continue our fight against the heroin crisis. Funding is also included for proactive education and advocacy efforts. We understand that many in our community are still in need of support. That is why the administration continues our commitment to help those residents who rely on vital community services to meet their basic needs. The city will continue to support our service partners and provide new funding for the Community Shelter Board to include funds to assist pregnant women, non-VA eligible veterans, and proactive street outreach to homeless individuals. We will also continue our partnership with Primary One Health so that our most vulnerable residents have access to quality health care services. In Franklin County, approximately 150 babies die before their first birthday. The budget provides funding for Celebrate One to continue its work to reduce infant mortality by 40% by 2020 and address factors affecting infant mortality, including, but not limited to, improving social and economic conditions, improving reproductive and postnatal care, and providing education on safe sleeping. The future is with our children, and the mayor believes in and is committed to offering educational program for our young residents. The 2017 general fund budget includes dollars for after-school programs and quality pre-K so that our children have access to quality educational programs. The Department of Education continues to leverage additional dollars from federal, state, and private sources to increase the availability of early childhood education and programming. The budget funds 2 organizational changes. In 2016, Mayor Ginther created the Department of Neighborhood, which combined a 311 call center, neighborhood liaison program, neighborhood pride program, and the Community Relations Commission. The budget allocates $4.6 million for the department to establish easy access to community resources and to enhance the city's relationship with neighborhoods. In addition, one of the first acts of the administration was to name a Chief Diversity Officer, the first of its kind, and the administration is in process of rebranding the Equal Business Opportunity Commission Office with the creation of the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. The $1.5 million budget will fund efforts to bring diversity to city offices and minority participation in contracting. Mayor Ginther announced at the State of the City the formation of the Columbus Women's Commission to advance the economic well-being of women in Columbus. In December, the commission will be seated, and the proposed budget includes funds to provide financial support for the administration of the commission, which will focus on pay equity, health and nutrition, housing and safety, and workforce development and education. All of our residents deserve to live in the neighborhoods that are diverse, safe, and vibrant, and have the opportunity to share in its prosperity. The 2017 proposed budget includes funding to maintain full-time operating hours at our 29 community rec centers, 5 athletic complexes, 8 outdoor pools, 26 shelters, and over 8,000 acres of parkland. Furthermore, we remain committed to promoting opportunities for public investment and job growth. The city will continue its relationships with Rev 1 Ventures, Columbus 2020, Next Generation, The Ohio State University, and other entities to encourage entrepreneurship, innovation, and economic development. On the revenue side, the income tax continues to be the largest revenue source supporting the general fund. Therefore, the health and stability of the general fund relies on the retention and creation of jobs within the city of Columbus. The city will continue to leverage partnerships with key organizations to allow it to attract and retain jobs while preparing and training residents who pursue an opportunity to fill these positions. As a result of the city's commitment to a long-term fiscal responsibility, the city has maintained its AAA bond rating and received a stable economic outlook with all 3 rating agencies. The mayor's proposed 2017 budget includes keeping the pledge of replenishing the rainy day fund. A deposit of $2.2 million will be made to the fund, and with this deposit, the city is on track to meet its commitment to voters to have a balance of $75 million in the rainy day fund by the year end 2018. As we look to the future, this budget allocates funds for an independent operations review, the first such review since 2000, and contributes $1.5 million into the Basic City Services Fund to help offset any unexpected economic downturns. I would like to now present an overview of the Department of Finance and Management's 2017 operating budget. The department's mission is to protect the fiscal integrity of the city and ensure effective management of fleet operations, facilities maintenance and construction, real estate transactions, and comprehensive and ethical procurement practices. The Department of Finance and Management is comprised of 2 divisions, Fleet Management and Facilities Management, and 9 sections: Budget Management, Grants Management, Debt Management, Purchasing, Construction Pre-Qualification, HR, the city's mailroom and print shop, the real estate section, and construction management. The total proposed budget, including all funds, is $137.8 million and supports 283 full-time employees, 22 part-time employees. The proposed budget of the Finance and Management Department is a continuation budget. The general fund portion of the department's budget totals slightly over $79 million. The Facilities Management Division is the largest general fund division within the department, with a budget totaling $16.8 million, including over $6.6 million for utility expenses. The division is responsible for the maintenance and repair of city buildings. The Fleet Management Division's proposed budget is over $38 million, and it supports 134 full-time and 5 part-time positions. positions. The division is an internal service division that bills other departments for their services. The division is responsible for the purchase, repair, and maintenance of motorized equipment in the city's fleet, except those within the Department of Public Utilities. Within the division, $9.9 million is budgeted for fuel to power the city's fleet. Fleet management continues to strengthen the city's green initiative by offering comprehensive compressed natural gas, or CNG, at 2 state-of-the-art stations. As with previous budgets, the Department of Finance and Management includes significant resources for the general fund. However, those resources benefit other general fund agencies. Included in these funding sources is $18.8 million for citywide technology billings, $22.2 million for economic development incentive payments, $16.4 million in hotel motel tax fund disbursements, and $1.2 million for the public defender's contract. The finance citywide account is budgeted at $33 million and includes deposits of $2.2 million, $2.4 million, and $1.5 million into the Rainy Day Fund, 27th Pay Period Fund, and the Basic City Services Fund, respectively. Though the economic outlook for the City of Columbus is positive and stable, we continue to address reducing costs through efficiencies, fiscal policies, and reforms. With the support of and assistance from all city departments and elected officials, my staff will continue to ensure the city remains in a good financial position to face any unknown challenges ahead, while committing to make Columbus America's opportunity city. Thank you, and that concludes my overview, and I will be happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
Thank you, Director Lombardi. Just a couple questions, and I think the first question I'm going to ask is based upon the presentation from Auditor Dorian. So I know that if we find ourselves in a position where we will need to reduce the budget based upon the revenue estimate, tell me what type of process you would go through to do that.
So initially, we would work with Mr. Dorian in his office very closely this next few days that are left in the year to see where we are going to end up. If there is a process by which we need to look at the budget and if there are any chances of reduction, we would begin to look at where the administration could see where the reductions could take place.
Thank you. Certainly, that's not news we want to hear, but just based upon that presentation, we really do have to, obviously the next couple of days, take into consideration what the proposed budget is now and what we look at if they're, moving forward. So thank you for that. I appreciate that in this budget that we are putting the $1.5 million into the Basic Services Fund, the $2.4 million into the Rainy Day Fund, and more importantly, the $2.2 million in the Rainy Day Fund, so that we can get to the goal that we told our residents that we'd be at $75 million in 2018. Can you share with me, I know that in this budget and in terms of the citywide transfer account that you are looking at doing this operational study, and so what do you anticipate the results of that study being, and as to why you decide to do that?
At this time, we're just at the very beginning stages of deciding what we want in that operational review. That operational review, we have not done one for the city since former Mayor Coleman was elected. And so it's been 16 years that we've had an opportunity to look at all of our operations, and what that review will be. At this time, I cannot answer exactly what we will include in that operational review. And I wanted to go back to your original question, and just to ensure everybody that, again, the auditor's office and myself will work together to ensure that, hopefully reductions won't have to happen. Hopefully we will be able to continue to move forward with the balanced budget that we have proposed with council at this time.
Thank you. And in terms of, I know that from the third quarter review, certainly one area where I know we budget significant dollars for fleet, for the fuel, and certainly we're going to be, almost $3 million that we're not going to spend. And so I know that the budget you're presenting even this year still pretty much has that same number. And so I just want you just to kind of share, do you anticipate that either the costs are going to go up for fuel, or I just want you to kind of share that, since we now have we've had a reduction in fuel.
Sure. I sure wish I could predict what fuel is going to do. Fuel is such a volatile commodity, and we felt it was in the best interest to budget at the same levels that we have in 2016. We'd like to see it continue at the prices that we see today, but I cannot anticipate what those prices. We did budget at today's prices, and hopefully those stayed level throughout 2017. But with it being such a volatile market, I don't know where we would be with fuel. What we would not like to do is come back to this council and ask for additional funding if we're off. And so that's why we budgeted at the same level as we did in 2016.
Thank you. And my last question, and my colleagues may have questions, would be, could you just talk to me a little bit about, you didn't really mention it, but if there is a role in the Smart Cities Initiative and what that role is for the Finance Department?
So there is a role with the Smart Cities. We are involved in the fleet portion of that. With the electric vehicles. We are also part of every committee in understanding where the grants are coming from, where those grant monies are going. We're tracking the expenditures along with public service. We're working together with their fiscal office to ensure that we're always updated as to where we are with the smart cities. But from a practical standpoint, our fleet management division is involved with the committee that is looking at the electrical vehicles and the charging stations.
Thank you. Any questions, Councilmember Harden?
Thank you, Chair Tyson, for your leadership in stewarding us through another budget season. Congratulations, Director Labarty, on presenting us your first budget, and we've appreciated your team's work with us. I'm putting on my chair hat of small and minority business. We, and thanks to your leadership, thanks to the mayor's leadership, we have made a commitment to do a disparity study going forward next year. How, in the interim, can this administration, this budget, represent its commitment to diversity and inclusion spend in the 2017? How can we step up? And this is something that I will certainly be interested in all the departments speaking a bit about how we can engage and make sure that our spend is as diverse and inclusive as we possibly can until we get our disparity study back.
Sure. Thank you, Councilmember Harden. And believe me, this first budget was tough. It was had a lot of fun with it, though. The mayor has told all of us as directors that it is very important to him, and will be measured on our efforts with diversity and inclusion, whether it's in our contracts or whether it's in our hiring. I know that I'm sure Director Francis will speak to it later on this evening in his budget, but I believe he is going to work with all of us in how we can recruit, especially with the, I know he's working currently with Director Pettis in the safety department to look at ways to recruit not only minority candidates, but also female candidates. So we are all working toward this, and with purchasing being under my wing, that is certainly important to me. And so we will make efforts this year to look at not only some potential code changes. I know that we're trying to do some code changes with the ODI change itself, but also I'd like to look at the procurement code as well, and see if there's ways that we can create more opportunities for small and emerging businesses and minority and female-owned businesses.
Councilmember Brown.
President Pro Tem. Director Lombardi, one question. Maybe you can elaborate a little more on the CNG, where we stand. You said you have 2 fueling stations currently, right? Is there
Yes.
any expectation of expanding that? And has the program done what we've expected it to do?
Yes. We have 2 currently. We're looking at a third CNG station, I believe, on the west side. And I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I can certainly get those for you. But we have seen just a dramatic change in not only our culture of our folks using CNG and buying CNG vehicles, but just what it's doing for our cost of the fuel that we're not using. So CNG has really done a great job for us as far as from an efficiency standpoint. Again, we need the fueling stations, just like when we look at smart cities and look at electric vehicles, you need the charging stations. So we are in a design phase for a third CNG facility on the west side of Columbus.
Thank you, Director. And if there are no more questions from this body, then we will move to the next presenter, which is from Building and Zoning Services, Deputy Director Michael Bowen.
President Pro Tem Tyson, members of council. The Department of Building and Zoning Services supports the safety and quality of life for the residents and visitors alike through the implementation of the Columbus Building and Zoning Codes. The 2017 budget for the Department of Building and Zoning Services totals just over $20.3 million and provides for 148 full-time and 11 part-time employees. All activities of the department are funded exclusively through the Development Services Fund, established from permitting and licensing revenues. These revenues are based upon the revised fee schedule that was codified in January of 2014. The 2017 budget will allow us to continue to streamline processes for customers with the expansion of our online building permitting activities and electronic plans review and submissions. It also includes $280,000 for the replacement of 10 vehicles out of our fleet of more than 50 per our vehicle replacement schedule. Thank you for the opportunity to present the budget for the Department of Building and Zoning Services this evening.
Thank you. Any questions?
Again, my question, what type of vehicles are we talking about purchasing? Given the fact that fleet, the Director Lombardi's already discussed the issue about CNG, what type of vehicles are we talking about for building services?
I believe that we're looking at Ford F-150s just because they have the higher ground clearance necessary to get onto construction sites to perform inspections, particularly in commercial construction jobs.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Brown. Our next presenter will be from the Civil Service Commission, Michael Eckhart.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Tyson, council members, and staff. As you know, the Civil Service Commission is part of the checks and balances of the city's government and is responsible for maintaining a merit system of employment that ensures city jobs are accessible and filled with qualified, competent individuals. To that end, the Commission's budget request for 2017 is $4,451,377. This does reflect an 8.8% increase over our final 2016 appropriation, and the expected major expenses for 2017 for the Commission are as follows. For our non-uniform testing program, $540,085. Just as a side here, in 2016, we did conduct 93 exams, processed over 14,000 applications, and actually tested over 4,400 individuals. For our uniform testing program, we're requesting $1,487,151. The program is on chart for 2017 to administer promotional testing for the fire lieutenant, fire captain, and police sergeant exams. We also will be testing entry-level firefighter and police officer in 2017. As Director Lombardi indicated, it's anticipated 2 police recruit classes and 2 fire recruit classes in 2017, and that'll necessitate medical and psychological testing as part of that process. We're requesting $263,000 to administer that testing. And finally, the Restoration Academy, we're requesting $279,175 in the coming year. With the adoption of the requested budget, the commission will have a total of 36 full-time staff and 6 part-time to carry out our classification and applicant assessment responsibilities. With that, I'd be happy to entertain any questions you may have regarding the request.
Thank you, Michael. Certainly appreciate that, and from being on the Civil Service Commission, I know just how much work is required when we're looking at having 2 police and 2 fire classes and the work that goes into that. But I also appreciate that, and hopefully our residents will appreciate this, that the dollars, at $263,000 for the psychological testing of our police officers and our firefighters, and certainly so people know that we're really trying to, send the best safety forces out into our community. And then the other is certainly the Restoration Academy, the $279,000, and how important that program is to not only to the individuals and their families, but also certainly continues to demonstrate the commitment that this community, that this city has in regards to making sure that we're helping individuals who need a second chance to be able to be gainfully employed. And I really want to say thank you to the directors and assistant directors who are sitting out here who have hired individuals from the Restoration Academy program. We really appreciate that you have certainly are leaders in trying to set the example, not for other cities, but also for the corporate community. So this is important. This is a really important program and does change lives in our community. Councilmember Harden.
Thank you, Chair Tyson. When you brought up the, Director Eckert, when you brought up the Restoration Academy and the $279,000, it reminded me that those funds were are used as leverage and support for workforce investment dollars as well. Is that funding still there? And can you talk about that at all, about how we leverage those dollars with other dollars to provide services for the Restoration Academy?
Sure. We partner with primarily COWIC to help head up the selection process of the individuals involved in that. That's, I believe the city's fee, we pay out about $200,000 a year for that. The additional funds cover staff within the commission that help to administer that program on our end, meet with the individuals that are participating in the program. I do think it's important to mention we're very excited and pleased with the fact of program graduates. We have a recidivism rate still of 0, which is a wonderful accomplishment everyone can be proud of. We've had a total of 139 participants since the program's inception in 2012, with 116 of those individuals actually graduating the program. Tariq has provided me here, our placement rate is 93%, with a retention rate of 82% 2 years after the initial placement. So many good things happening with that program. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Harden. Any other questions? Seeing none, we will now go to the Department of Development, Director Steve Schoening.
Thank you, President Pro Tem, members of council. I'm going to give a very high-level overview today. I have my staff and I will have the opportunity to be back for the Economic Development, Small Business, Housing, and Human Services Committee meetings on our budget. So we'll dive into it stepwise as we go through those other hearings. To give you an overview, the Department of Development is proposing an total operating budget of $34.1 million for 2017. This funding level represents an overall decrease of about 1.9% from the 2016 operating budget. Major changes in our budget this year are 6 positions have been transferred to the Department of Neighborhoods. 5 of those are from General Revenue Fund, and 1 is from the Community Development Block Grant budget. We've established the Land Redevelopment Division. That division was previously within the administration line item in our budget. We felt it was, we needed to add that level of transparency for council, for the mayor's office, for finance, and for the general public to be able to see better what it is that we do and how it is that we operate. Finally, the department is taking a reduction of about 13.5% in our 2017 Community Development Block Grant budget. I'll go into a little bit more detail in the next slide as to where you're going to see that and how we're going to cover some of that shortfall. You can see here that the bulk of the that is going to be absorbed in our vacant property prevention program, our home modification program, and our land redevelopment property stabilization funding line item. The first 2 of those, we have some carry forward items or some unused balances that we will be covering our 2017 anticipated expenses using those dollars. So we will not see, we don't believe we'll see an appreciable impact on city services and on our residents in 2017. With the land redevelopment cuts, we are going to be covering those shortfalls out of the Land Redevelopment Fund, which is an enterprise fund based, or where the income comes from the sale of our land bank properties. So we do have a balance in that fund, and we'll be using that to make up some of that shortfall.
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
So in terms of the home modification, you're saying that you have already existing funds that you will, so you're going to still put the same $450,000 into?
We anticipate, it's hard to know exactly how much we're going to spend in a year. I don't know exactly the balances that we have on hand right now. I can get those for you, and we'll obviously have those for our housing hearing. But while we may not have a full 450, we believe we'll be able to cover the demand that we have.
Right, thank you.
So looking at the breakdown by division and operation of our budget, 28% of our department's budget is in the administration line item. While we've already separated out the land redevelopment, that does include about $5.7 million for our social services contracts. So 66%, fully 66% of that 28% is our social services contracts. So while I have a staff that I'm very happy with, and I think we do a very good job, that 28% is not all just administration. It is largely, actually 2/3 of that is direct services to the community, and that's our social services grants that President Pro Tem, I know you're so familiar with. 28% of our department's budget goes to code enforcement and environmental nuisance. 27% is to support the housing department and the community shelter board and their Rebuilding Lives programs. 9% of our budget is for economic development, 6% is for planning, and 2% of our general revenue fund and CDBG budgets go to the land redevelopment division. So we do have some key line items for support of our economic development programs and other programs. Director Lombardi highlighted a few of these. These are continuations that we've seen in prior budgets. We do have 3 significant expansions in this year's budget. We are proposing to provide $125,000 to Homeport. This is to support their homebuyer education programming and to allow them to increase the amount of services they provide and the quality of services they provide. Homeport has gone through a very extensive process of reevaluating that program. They've come to us with matching funds that they've raised, and they've asked us to do this to help them really improve the kind of homebuyer education that is provided to residents in the city and potential residents of our city. The Community Shelter Board, we are proposing an increase of $575,000 for their funding. That is largely to go support programs for homeless new mothers and mothers-to-be, as well as services for homeless veterans. And finally, we're asking for an increase to the code enforcement line item of $52,000, or approximately $53,000, to support a position that is solely focused on monitoring and enforcing our law as it relates to commercial zoning issues. So think about scrap yards, salvage yards, recycling yards on the south side, places we've had significant issues in the past. We haven't, this year we've moved a person to be largely dedicated to that function. We want to take, Kyle Kirker's his name, we want to take Kyle and give him the ability to focus solely on those issues. He is doing a great job, and we really would like to increase his ability to focus. Finally, I forgot my glasses today, so I won't even begin to attempt to read, although actually that is about far enough that I think I could read those. This is a list of the community agencies that are supported through the Department of Development's budget. This is actually a partial list. So when we look at the work that my team does, it is, we are part and parcel of the community, and we are proud to be key funders of these key community organizations. With that, I'll conclude and be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Director. In terms of your expansions, I think that especially the one, well, all of them are important, so let me just say that. But the South Side, certainly we've had a number of issues on the South Side with the businesses that you referenced, and certainly we want to make sure that that someone is dedicated to making sure that they are running their businesses to the code, and so appreciate that. The home buyer education, I think that HomePoint does a great job in that regard. I know that HomePort also is interested in us funding their other programs that they help to support the communities in which they serve in areas where there's no recreational facilities or any other facilities. And then lastly, the expansion of the Community Shelter Board. I think it's so important that we, in our commitment to the Celebrate One, the homeless new mothers, that program is essential. Our veterans who certainly have served our country honorably, and then the homeless mothers, veterans, and
Moms to Be,
Moms to
Celebrate, essentially to support our Celebrate One programming.
Okay.
And veterans are the two largest portions of that.
Thank you. And then over the continuations, I know that all those are important. The Creative Columbus, the Sister Cities program, and so thank you. Any questions? Councilmember Mitchell Brown.
Director Shoney, just a question. What's your expectation for demolishing blighted homes and structures for the year 2017?
It's going to be a very aggressive year. So between the funding that we have through the city's capital budget and funding that we are receiving in partnership with the County Land Bank, COSIC, we anticipate it's going to be a very, very busy year. We are working hard to make sure that we're not just focused on demolition now. We are going to be trying to strategically use city funds to focus on stabilization of properties that we think have the opportunity to be reused. Not rehabbing them ourselves, but just stabilizing them, essentially getting them watertight so that they don't deteriorate further, and the private sector can come in and make use of those buildings.
Will that be in conjunction with service? I mean, when we actually demolish a home, somebody to maintain the area so that you don't have people complaining, as they invariably do when the place has been demolished and we go off to other things?
Yeah. So I talked earlier about the Land Redevelopment Fund. That is the primary function of the Land Redevelopment Fund, is making sure that we have the money to maintain those properties. So I think the Land Redevelopment spends, I want to say, $800,000 to $1 million a year on cutting grass because we own so many properties. It is a significant portion of what we do. It's always a challenge to keep on top of the 1,200 properties that we own in the land bank. They're challenge properties to begin with, but we try really hard to make sure they stay up to speed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, Director Shoney. Our next presenter will be Director and Chief Diversity Officer Steve Francis, giving a presentation on the Office of Diversity and Inclusion.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Tyson. I wanted to first talk about the amounts of the budget. I don't know if the clicker's working on. Oh, okay. Do you click or do I click? Or? Okay. I'll let you click. You can't see, but the budget amount is roughly 1.5 million, as Director Lombardi indicated earlier. And while that total amount is not significant when compared to other departments, it is a 50% increase from the previous year's budget. And we do have 2 additional headcount brought on, a manager of our supplier diversity pillar functions and workforce diversity pillar functions, which are new. So, you know, it's not that I'm high maintenance or anything. It's just that diversity is very important work, and it does require resources, and it is a very important focus of the mayor, as you know. So the next slide examines the 4 pillars. Supplier diversity pillar was really the formerly known as EBO, but we've added workforce diversity, diverse outreach to help support CRC in neighborhoods, and to support our workforce outreach initiatives and supplier diversity outreach initiatives. And then the internal leadership and commitment and communications pillar is under that we've established the first cross-functional diversity committee for the city. And we're also launching some communication initiatives that I've called the Inclusive Viewpoint, which gives some slight commentary on some current diverse events that are of interest to the general community. The next slide gives you a little bit more detail on what we want to attempt in the workforce diversity pillar. And the HR department has been a very helpful resource, as has civil service, in helping us get our arms around the complicated city government process when it comes to recruitment cycles and recruiting and employment and civil service testing process. But you know, we'd love to seek internship programs so that every department can have pipelines of co-ops and interns to lead to full-time employment. And we'd like to source diverse pools for them to choose from. Recruitment is, I think, an activity that hiring managers should be actively involved in if time and budget allows, and so we want to try to do that. And of course, building pipelines, Director Lombardi mentioned working with police and fire to try to develop diverse pipelines to increase diversity in the police and fire, along with construction trades and other initiatives that the mayor is very concerned about in terms of diversification. And of course, be that support resource and strategic work source, resource for all department managers and department personnel. The next slide gives you a general idea of one initiative that may address the question that Councilmember Hardin had to Joe Lombardi. This Ohio Municipalities Business Conference is an effort to build capacity and scale and capability of our small, minority, and female-owned businesses so that they can be in a better position to get business opportunities with the city. Not only the city of Columbus, but other cities and municipalities around the state, so that they can, again, grow capacity to be better prepared to take on bigger projects here in Columbus. So we're excited about launching that in August of 2017. And then the next slide is a further effort to build capacity of businesses, and we're calling it the Business Opportunity Assessment Program, where we plan to assess 2 businesses per month to determine how to best get them access to capital, which we find to be the biggest barrier to business opportunities, plant and equipment, and management and technical assistance. Many smaller businesses are too busy with their craft, and they don't have the time or resources to focus on the back office and the books and the lawyers stuff. So we believe that will be a big help to them to focus on growing their business. We're excited about launching that next fiscal year. The last slide of substance, and one more, Carl, please, is the diversity committee structure that is cross-functionally established under the leadership of Mayor Ginther and Chief Davies, facilitated by my office and staff, and the city attorney is our advisor, and the Workforce Development Committee is to help us, get ideas on workforce development initiatives for pipelines. But as you can see, all the departments are cross-functionally engaged in that with their directors, who the mayor plans to hold accountable for progress in diversity and inclusion. Another initiative to answer Shannon Harding's question, Councilmember Harding, and under the leadership of Joe Lombardi, actually, Rex and Parks, Technology, Service, and Utilities have all agreed to look hard at how to unbundle bigger contracts and projects into smaller ones that these small and emerging businesses can reasonably bid on or pursue. That is absolutely a barrier to opportunity when you have these multi-million-dollar contracts that there's no way that these smaller firms can even consider bidding seriously on. So we believe that breaking them down into smaller parts without disrupting the purchasing process will go a long way towards helping to build capacity during the time that we wait for the disparity study. So that's all I have. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to entertain them.
Thank you, Director. Excited about the unbundling of some of those contracts. I think I've talked to Director Lombardi about some of that as we meet. And really, when I read your proposal, I'll just say that I am pleased that we are thinking outside the box to try to deal with some of our diversity issues, and certainly the workforce diversity, by chairing workforce, the workforce diversity initiatives, I am excited about, and I want to ask you more questions. I won't do it on the floor tonight. I know you're going to have a hearing, and I'm going to be at these other hearings, but I am, when I reviewed the document, just very pleased on the plan that you have presented this evening, and would certainly want to spend I've set the hearing and certainly want to ask questions. I think the Business Opportunity Assessment Program, the looking outside to having, Ohio Municipalities Business Conference, looking outside of just Columbus, which we've been doing in the past. And I think that I'm interested in what ideas that you will have in regards to the diversifying the police and fire. That's something that, as long as I've been in the city, which is be 23 years in January, that has been something that I know that safety has wanted to do and tried to do, and certainly we still have some work to do, and so I'm glad that that's going to be a focus of your department.
Well, we appreciate the support of the City Council.
Thank you. And what I'm going to do now, directors, is that I know we're asking questions, but I've got to remember that you're going to have hearings. And so what we're going to do is, unless we some questions that we need to ask, we're going to let you present, and we'll ask if we need to ask. If not, don't be offended by it, because I want you just to, I'm serious, because I know that typically this is a briefing, so I want you guys to brief us. I'm so used to asking, honestly, I'm used to asking questions, so I'm going to let you, unless something's just burning, I'm going to let you just kind of move through your presentations, if that's okay with you. Is that okay with you guys? Is that okay? Okay, all right, let's go. Okay, so the next presenter is, will be the Department of Development, and Matthew Smido, the Assistant Director, will present.
Chair Tyson, members of council, thank you for the opportunity to present to you the proposed 2017 budget for the Department of Education. Our total proposed appropriation is almost $6.4 million. This is up about $75,000 or 1.2% from 2016. Of course, the majority of our funding, about $4.7 million, is for Early Start Columbus. Early Start Columbus, our pre-K expansion program, provides direct support to high-quality pre-K providers. Through this program, we have provided high-quality pre-K education to over 1,600 kids over the last 3 years. In 2017, through Early Start Columbus, we also plan to develop quality improvement initiatives to assist all providers increase the quality of their programs. We know that our children will only become kindergarten ready if their pre-K education is of high quality. Our Early Start amount is unchanged from the last year and represents about 75% of our overall budget. Providing a safe environment for children to learn after the school day ends remains a priority for the department. The department requests a continuation level, about $389,000, to continue to provide mini grants to after-school providers to assist them with their efforts. About $700,000 from our budget will be used to support Future Ready Columbus, our relatively new education organization that has already begun to collectively impact education in Columbus. Future Ready Columbus is a great partner to us and to Columbus City Schools. In addition, about $561,000 will support the administration of our department. And I would also like to say to Councilmember Harden's point earlier, and I'm very happy to say that about 98% of the providers with whom we partner are either minority-owned and or female-owned and or are small businesses or nonprofits. Chair Tyson, thank you for giving us the opportunity to provide testimony this evening. We'd love to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Don't have any questions. Just appreciate your commitment to our youngest residents and making sure that we have our residents are ready, will be ready to be able to take on the jobs that Director Schoening is going to make sure we're going to attract and retain. Thank you very much. Any questions? If none, Dr. Teresa Long, our Health Commissioner from Columbus Public Health.
Good evening, President Pro Tem and Finance Committee Chair Tyson, council members, and colleagues. Thank you for this opportunity to highlight Columbus Public Health's proposed 2017 budget of $31,667,213, which supports 245 full-time equivalents. As you know firsthand, our Columbus Public Health team has worked hard to keep our community healthy and safe during the many complicated challenges faced by residents in 2016. Today and into 2017, our city faces, as you've heard, an ever-increasing opiate crisis, having a significant impact on our residents and our neighborhoods. Our infant mortality rates continue unacceptably high. Did I say that right? Unacceptably high, yes. And both of these issues are complicated and require long-term commitments. And then there is the unexpected public health crises. This past year, our region is hit by many outbreaks, unusual outbreaks, and the largest of which we are still dealing with, is the largest outbreak in the history of Ohio of Cryptosporidium. And of course, it is still impacting our community. I believe our commitment to protect health and improve lives in our community is more important than ever, and for us, it is our #1 priority. The proposed budget 2017 budget allows for the continued provision of public health services that are mandated, as well as priority programs that the Board of Health deems minimally essential to meet Ohio's public health standards. We also will continue our services and programs of health and improve lives. We will continue to focus on significant efforts to reduce infant mortality and our infant mortality rate through Celebrate One, which is responsible for the implementation of the Greater Columbus Infant Mortality Task Force recommendations. In this proposed budget is our continued commitment to improve youth wellness with Columbus City Schools, focused in 2 areas. First, we will reestablish or continue a Columbus Safe Passage, or similar to a Safe Routes to School initiative, a coordination project which will further the clear connection of safety, education, and well-being of Columbus school children and vulnerable neighborhoods. The second will enhance sexually transmitted infection, both screening and education on school campuses during school hours, providing an opportunity to expand prevention and risk reduction efforts for youth. Again, both of these continue in partnership with the Columbus City Schools. Our primary care service contract with Primary One Health is budgeted to receive $4,549,110, or a $250,000 less than in 2016. The good news is that because of Medicaid expansion, far more Columbus and Central Ohioans are protected through expanded insurance coverage. We will continue to monitor closely access to care in our community as we move forward to make sure our residents are being well served. Additionally, both the Healthcare Collaborative of Greater Columbus and Community Garden contracts will receive level funding at $25,000 and $20,000 respectively. Let me assure you, your investment in our infrastructure and services means quality public health protection is available to our residents, enabling our ability to meet the diverse needs of our community. We will continue to operate with high efficiency and effectiveness to protect the health and improve lives of all Columbus residents. As always, we appreciate the support and guidance of Columbus City Council through this process and all year long. I would be happy to answer any of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Long. Any questions? No? Thank you. Our next speaker will be Director Nikki Brandon from the Office of Human Resources.
Good evening, President Pro Tem Tyson and members of council. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss the Department of Human Resources 2017 General Fund and Employee Benefits Fund budget. The 2017 budget is $2.9 million in general fund and $4.5 million in the Employee Benefits Fund, for a total of $7.4 million, which supports 40 full-time employees and 4 part-time employees. The 2017 budget reflects a continuation of services with a few adjustments, which includes the transfer of the Black History Month program to the Department of Neighborhoods, the suspension of the CRIS program, and expansions in personnel, specifically in our compensation management section and in the Employee Benefits Fund. We were approved for the addition of a part-time industrial hygienist to provide for the safety needs in the Department of Neighborhoods. Also in the general fund, in February of 2016, the department entered into a final year of the contract for physical fitness assessments and testing for police and fire uniformed personnel. Human Resources rebid this contract in September, and Mount Carmel Health Services was awarded the contract once again. A 5-year contract with 3 possible 1-year extensions was negotiated. The general fund budget includes a total of $1.1 million for combined police and fire fitness assessment and testing. Finally, in the Employee Benefits Fund, let me talk about that. The 2017 budget includes approximately $358,000 for the contract with Baker and Hostetler LLP. The services related that they provide for us are related to contract negotiations and arbitration expenditures. In addition to an additional $150,000 is included in this figure over 2016 because we will be negotiating all 5 contracts this year, and so the services will pick up quite a bit in the year of 2017. That concludes my presentation. I welcome any questions you may have, and thank you for your favorable consideration.
Thank you, Director.
Just one question for Director Brandon. Did I hear you say all 5 contracts are up for 2017?
Yes, all of our bargaining units contracts expire in 2017, so we will begin contract negotiations very soon and have all 5. Actually, 6.
That's what I thought. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Director Brandon. You will be very busy with those contracts. So our next presenter will be from the Department of Neighborhoods, Director Carla Williams-Scott.
Good evening, President Pro Tem Tyson and members of council. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present the 2017 first full-year proposed budget for the Department of Neighborhoods. Our budget request is $4,953,895. This funding will support 43 full-time individuals and 3 part-time employees. In addition, there is funding in that program for the Women's Commission and 1 full-time position that was added to coordinate an opiate program partner citywide, working with our colleagues in health and safety. Funding will continue for the Neighborhood Pride program and for neighborhood and agency services, both of which transferred from the Department of Development. Targeted outreach will focus on the Linden and Hilltop communities as we begin developing plans for both of those areas. Funding for the New Americans program will continue in 2017 to assist with the assimilation of the new Americans arriving into Columbus from other countries. Services will include translation and interpretation services. In addition, to further the vision of the mayor, the Columbus Women's Commission was created to advance economic well-being of women in our community, and funds have been set aside to allocated to help support that effort. We will also continue with the Martin Luther King Jr. Day program, celebration, and Black History Month programs that will continue to be funded. Support for the My Brother's Keeper program to address opportunity gaps for men and boys of color will also continue. Area Commission grants transferred to the Department of Neighborhoods from the Department of Development are also funded in this budget at $38,000. In 2017, we will continue to work with our area commissions, civic associations, and community organizations and residents on conflict resolution strategies and providing technical training and best practices that offer additional support for individuals to positively impact their communities. We will continue implementation of the Mayor's New Americans program with a focus on integrating immigrant and refugee families into the Columbus community. The program encompasses service capacity building, education and awareness presentations, and opportunities for civic engagement for some of our newest residents. We will continue to provide public forums and programs on relevant topics and key issues facing our communities. These community conversations will allow residents to have critical input and interactive participation. Lastly, we will continue to enhance the 311 customer service performance tracking system on which complaints and neighborhood issues and events are logged. The database offers real-time status for each charge and complaint initiated in the system. We will also continue to work with the Department of Technology on 311 system upgrades, and funding for that project will be housed in the Department of Technology budget. Thank you again for the opportunity to give you this overview, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. No questions. Our next president will be Deputy, who's in there? Who's in safe? Kathy Collins. That was Kathy, welcome. And so you will give the presentation from Public Safety.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Tyson and members of council. Good evening. I'm pleased to present to you a brief synopsis of the Public Safety 2017 General Fund budget. Public Safety manages the operations of the Division of Police, Fire, Support Services, and the Safety Director's Office. We are very appreciative of the budget allocated to public safety as it continues to be Mayor Ginther's top priority. The 2017 public safety budget totals approximately $578 million, of which nearly $576.8 million is from the general fund, with the remainder of the budget funded in the enhanced 911 fund. Altogether, this budget represents a 3.5% increase over the 2016 public safety projected expenditures. The budget allocates $320 million for police, $243 million for fire, $7.3 million for support services, and $7.2 million for safety administration. With these funds, the department will continue to provide public safety services from the internationally accredited divisions of police and fire. Some of the major public safety initiatives for 2017 include Fire Class. The proposed budget of 80 recruits, 40 in June and 40 in December, is the largest increase we have had in a number of years. For a number of years, we were only budgeted funding for a single fire class, anywhere from 35 to 45 class participants. This year, Mayor Ginther added an additional class for a total of 65. However, the proposed 2017 budget funds an even larger class, which will help us to prepare for both an additional medic to be put into place when Station 2 opens in the spring of 2017, and the opening of a new Fire Station 35, in 2018. Police recruits, 70 recruits funded, 35 in June and 35 in December, to maintain our nationally accredited division of police. Naloxone expansion, $150,000 to equip many additional officers with this life-saving drug to counter a heroin overdose. And body-worn cameras. We will be implementing our body camera program this month, beginning with our traffic unit. This initiative will undoubtedly foster safety and enhance police, community relations, and be a significant aid in the prosecution of civilian cases. Vehicles. Public safety will work with fleet management to determine the number of cruisers, unmarked vehicles, and other general fund light-duty vehicles to be replaced in 2017. In 2016, the Public Safety Department purchased 76 SUV cruisers, 5 PTVs, and over 6 dozen other vehicles for the divisions of police and fire. The following programs are funded at or slightly more than last year. The jail contract, which is $4 million, EMS billing contract, which is $1.8 million, Community Crime Patrol, $375,000, Capital Area Humane Society, $225,000, Truancy Program, $75,000, and the Community Safety Initiative, which is $750,000. With respect to the Community Safety Initiative, please note we are evaluating and seeking to ever improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the program in order to maximize the safety of the community that we protect. Neighborhood safety cameras. Funding for the Neighborhood Safety Camera Program in 2017 will allow for the expansion of the program from its current level of 100 locations and 300 cameras to an additional 14 locations with 42 cameras. Diversity. As we spoke earlier, we will be working with the Office of Diversity and Inclusion to announce in the near future some new innovative ways to ever increase our diversity hiring. Police community relations. We will also continue to engage the community to foster a partnership of mutual trust and greater understanding. Thank you for your time. I'll attempt to respond to any questions or concerns that you may have about public safety budget, and Director Pettis will be present tomorrow night for the public safety budget hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Collins. No, okay, see, wait till tomorrow night. Okay, Director. Okay, Council Member. All right, thank you. The next presenter will be Steve Wenzel from Public Service. Good evening.
President Pro Tem Tyson, members of council, thank you for this opportunity to present the highlights of the proposed 2017 budget for the Department of Public Service. The Department of Public Service is comprised of the Director's Office and 4 divisions: refuse collection, infrastructure management, traffic management, and design and construction. In 2017, we have proposed funding of $108.6 million across all funds for the Department of Public Service. This will fund 783 full-time and part-time personnel that provide some of the most basic city services, including refuse collection, maintaining and improving our roadways, fixing potholes, snow and ice removal, installation, maintenance of traffic signals, signage, and pavement markings to promote safety of the general public, publicly managed parking, and making Columbus a safer city for pedestrians and bicyclists. Our proposed 2017 operating budget represents a 2.4% increase over the operating budget of 2016. In the Refuse Collection Division in 2017, we have proposed funding of $33.7 million. This represents only a 2.1% increase over 2016. As a part of this budget proposal, we will continue the city's recycling program to more than 201,000 households, apartments, condominium complexes. Also, recycling and yard waste will continue to be collected the same day every other week. The recycling program has been a great success. Since the program started in 2012, through this year, October 31st of 2016, the residents have recycled more than 136,000 tons of materials. That saved the city about $7.5 million in tipping fees diverted from the landfill, the county landfill. This will be detailed in the annual report that we do on recycling that we present to City Council in February. The Division Infrastructure Management's 2017 total budget request is $33.6 million, all within the Street Construction Maintenance and Repair Fund. The division provides street maintenance services within the city rights-of-way, including street sweeping, litter control, traffic or graffiti removal, and snow and ice removal, all in an efficient manner. Well, I hate to say it, but winter is coming, and our snow warriors are ready. We will begin the 2016-2017 winter season with approximately 114 equipment operators, plus more than 200 additional city employees cross-trained to drive snow, plow trucks, in extreme weather conditions. We have 140 pieces of winter weather equipment, and we currently have more than 25,000 tons of salt on hand. We also have the additional purchasing capacity of 16,500 tons more. This winter, residents can continue to go online and use our Columbus Warrior Watch system. You can actually log in and see what streets citywide have been treated in the previous 72 hours. You can also check the priority level of your own street. Residents can log on to that site at warriorwatch.columbus.gov. The Division of Traffic Management is making our streets safer for motorists, pedestrians, and bicyclists, while managing parking at our parking meters. The Division's 2017 total budget request is $18.6 million. The Division of Traffic Management is responsible for planning, educating, and advocating the greater mobility of various roadway users necessary to ensure safe and efficient transportation systems for pedestrians, bicyclists, and vehicular traffic, as well as improving neighborhood livability and safety. The Division of Design and Construction's 2017 total budget, proposed budget, is $17 million. The Division of Design and Construction is responsible for developing quality construction plans, managing design contracts, and enabling the department to build and maintain a safe and efficient transportation system. In addition, the division manages construction contracts, surveying and materials testing, in support of public service, public utilities, and privately funded infrastructure projects. That concludes my presentation of the 2017 Department of Public Service operating budget. I would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Councilmember Brown.
Steve, a question with regards to recycling. Is there any idea about increasing the volume of recycling? Currently, we do it once every 2 weeks. Am I correct?
That is correct, Councilmember.
Is there any expectation, given the sheer volume, of whether or not to increase that to a weekly basis?
Actually, there is. We are currently in the process of rebidding that contract. We're at the end of our 5-year term with Rumpke, and we actually currently have a bid out on the streets. One of the options within that bid is to get a price for what every week service would be and how much that would cost the city. We don't know what that would be right now, but we do have that option built in.
As long as you're exploring it. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you, Councilmember Brown, and certainly very appreciative that we have obviously not put as much material in the landfill, and we have saved $7.5 million. So thank you for your work. Our next presenter will be from Columbus Recreation and Parks, Director Tony Collins. Good evening.
Thank you, Chair Tyson, members of council. Columbus Recreation and Parks Department provides active and passive recreational activities for the Columbus citizens through its recreation programs and facilities, parks, and recreational trails within safe and accessible environments available to all residents of Columbus. The department maintains 352 total parks totaling over 8,000 acres, including large urban parks like Whetstone Park, Three Creeks Park, and the Scioto Mile. Hundreds of neighborhood parks like Deschler, Wilson Road, and Italian Village Park, as well as over 100 miles of multi-use trails, thousands of city street trees. In addition, our department operates and maintains community recreation facilities, including 6 golf courses, 8 swimming pools, 5 splash pads, and 29 community recreation centers. It includes the operation of our Therapeutic Recreation Center, our Cultural Arts Center, the Columbus Performing Arts Center, and the McKnight Outdoor Education Center. The department also provides a conduit to health and social services to older adults through 8 counties via the Central Ohio Area Agency on Aging. This year's 2017 budget request is for $51,860,624. Highlights of the budget: the 2017 budget includes funding to meet the goals as set from the mayor's priorities, the adopted CRPD master plan, and the best practice of our recreation and parks profession. The 2017 general fund budget proposal includes funding for the full year operation of the department, including 3 centers that reopened in 2016. In critical neighborhoods. Those centers are Douglas Recreation Center, Driving Park Recreation Center, and Glenwood. This budget also includes the full year operation of our new pool at the Driving Park Recreation Center. We're proud to have made these neighborhood investments. This budget also includes the added cost of the air conditioning for 4 of our 5 indoor court complexes. The 2017 proposal includes funding to maintain our 352 parks, preservation areas, and multi-use trails, including the addition of a new park at the Scioto Peninsula. It also includes the full operation of the soon-to-be completed Lashutka Center at Griggs Reservoir and the McKnight Outdoor Education Center building at the Indian Village Program Center. The 2017 general fund budget includes funding program initiatives, including the growth of our youth and family development enhancement programs and out-of-school program options. Included in this staff is the staff and expenses to meet targets to meet our goals of growing food access through our nutrition and summer food programs, and additional full-time development staff members focused on these efforts. The 2017 budget supports the staffing and operational support of our efforts to create a focus initiative to provide enhanced youth and family development program at 8 of our centers that serve the neighborhoods in most need in Columbus, as identified by the Celebrate One initiative. This budget also provides continued support for our city partners, including the King Arts Center, Franklin Park Conservatory, CoWIC, and new for 2017 COSI. The 2017 budget accounts for our efforts to grow our revenues as well where appropriate. We are proposing an 11% growth in revenues to generate $10.9 million in revenues through our program fees and participation costs. The Columbus Recreation and Parks 2017 budget proposal will continue our efforts to reach the mayor's priorities and the strategy outlined in the Columbus Recreation and Parks Commission through the Recreation and Parks Master Plan, as well as the pillars of our profession: health and wellness, conservation, and social equity. Thank you for your time and consideration. I look forward to discussing the budget in more detail at the Recreation and Parks Committee hearing next week, December 15th at 4 p.m.
Thank you, Director. I just mentioned I'm excited that you're going to have a full-time development staff person. You meant full-time development staff person, correct?
That's correct. This budget includes the addition of a full-time development staff person.
Right, and I'm excited because that's, again, we need to make sure that we're having public-private partnerships supporting the work in recreation and parks. So I look forward to the hearing next week and hearing more about the funding for COSI in the budget. Thank you. Our next presenter will be from the Department of Technology, Director Sam Orth. Good evening.
Good evening, President Pro Tem Tyson, members of the council. Thank you for the opportunity to present the Department of Technology's 2017 proposed budget. The Department of Technology supports the city's government information technology needs by providing uninterrupted, secure, and reliable information systems that support both internal and external customers. Overall, the department provides support for 12 essential city services that include services such as networking, telecommunications, infrastructure hosting, data center management, application and programming services, desktop support, information technology security, geographic information services, and media services, in addition to 6 enterprise applications used by all city departments such as payroll and 311. In addition, 54 major line of business applications used by various departments, in addition to certain technology services for our external customer, the Franklin County Board of Commissioners. The department's budget is a continuation level budget and reflects an overall increase of 0.4%, or $145,797 over the 2016 amount of $36,375,913. The 2017 proposed budget is comprised of $18,755,372, or 51% from the general fund, and $17,766,388, or 49% from other funds within the city's budget, such as from the Department of Public Utilities, BZS, and other smaller funds, for a total 2017 budget amount of $36,521,710. That total budget is broken down internally between 2 divisions. The Administration Division Director's Offices and the agency's technology charge budget totals $7,681,764, or 21% of the budget. And in the Information Services Division budget total of $28,839,946, or 79% of the budget. The department's 2017 budget reflects an overall total staffing level of 158 positions, consisting of 156 full-time and 2 part-time positions. The department is taking a 4.3% vacancy credit, which is equivalent to 7 full-time positions. In 2017, the general fund includes replacement computer equipment purchases to be funded with the special income fund, an amount of $500,000. The city has approximately 6,000 computers and laptops, and these funds will allow us to rotate our inventory based on the age and the appropriate life cycle for for these devices. Our priority projects in 2017, you've already heard about many of these this evening. First is the police body camera program. As we've heard this evening, that program is getting started this month, and our role is a support role to public safety. In particular, we'll be supporting the servers, the storage environment, the networking, and the technology components for the body-worn camera program. Also, we're working with public services on smart cities, and in particular, the creation of really the city's first open government data platform that we call the Information Data Exchange. It will provide data across all the city's applications, not just for internal city customers, but also for the public. We're also working on the networking, the application components for the Smart Columbus program. Our ongoing continuation programs, we're working with public safety in their continued migration to new city infrastructure and server platforms to ensure business continuity of the applications in their environment. Also working with them to upgrade their phone systems in their police and fire departments, and working with public utilities on a network upgrade and to upgrade their telephone equipment. We have a goal here in the city of having all city phone systems on one phone system, so that's an ongoing priority. Working with the city attorney's office on the implementation of their new case management system called Matrix. Working with human resources on the implementation of their new learning management application for employee training, and on their workers' compensation claim system for risk management. Working on continuation of the city's extensive fiber program, in particular connecting remaining police substations and fire stations to that network, which is vital to the body-worn camera program. Ongoing expansion of the geographic information system, which is part of the IDE, that public-facing component. Working with Department of Neighborhoods to expand the My Neighborhood website and My Columbus mobile app to deliver city information services such as capital improvement data, neighborhood pride information, health inspections, parks, and other information. And then, as you've already heard, continue exploration for 311. And then lastly, working with Columbus Public Health and their Celebrate One Infant Mortality Plan by supplying technology and mapping services to their team. And much, much more. As some of you heard me say before, our job in the department is to help enable the success of our sister departments and the city as a whole. And so looking forward to doing that in 2017. Thank you, President Pro Tem Tyson, for the time here this evening, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Director, and I don't have any questions. I appreciate getting your document ahead of time to be able to read it, and so thank you very much for that, and certainly excited about the projects, for your priority projects in 2017, which smart cities and the police body cameras. Thank you. And our final presenter this evening is Assistant Director John Lee from Public Utilities.
Good evening, President Pro Tem Tyson and members of City Council. Thank you for the opportunity to present the Department of Public Utilities 2017 operating budget. Our combined budget totals $613 million and supports our Director's Office, Division of Water, Sewers and Drainage, Division of Power, and our Stormwater section. Overall, our 17 budget is a continuation budget with continued emphasis on EPA regulatory compliance and achieving our mission of providing clean, quality drinking water, maintaining a sound sanitary sewer system, managing flooding issues, and providing reliable electric power and street lights to our customers. We accomplish this mission with the leadership from our director and our personnel of over 1,161 employees. Our crews, as you know, work around the clock responding to emergencies and outages, and our treatment plants run a 24-hour operation. We continue to serve over 1 million customers within the city of Columbus and surrounding communities. And as you know, all of our operations are supported by user fees collected from ratepayers, and we do not receive any income tax dollars. Just a brief breakdown of our $613 million budget. $241 million goes towards principal and interest. That's about 40%. And these debt service payments are for past and current capital projects funded from bonds and loans. We also have another major component of personnel, which we have budgeted at $126 million in 2017. And another $127 million goes towards general services, electricity, administrative charges, internal bills, things of that nature. $89 million for supplies and materials, chemicals, aggregates, parts and pumps, things like that. We have $9 million for capital equipment, trucks, transformers, vehicles, sewer cleaning machines, et cetera. Compared to our 2016 budget, our 2017 budget is approximately $1.3 million less, or a little less than 1%. So in 2017, we made strong efforts to control our operating and maintenance expenses while carefully monitoring our growth in debt service costs. And our continuing goal is to strike the balance of maintaining quality service levels, maintaining our capital program, and providing the necessary revenue through reasonable and responsible rate increases. And as you know, in 2017, with your support, our rates will be a combined rate of 2.9%. I'll touch on quickly our strategic priorities in 2017, the mayor's priorities of investing in neighborhoods, economic development, early childhood development, and diversity and inclusion. As far as neighborhoods, we have several stormwater projects and water line projects planned to upgrade aging infrastructure, and our Blueprint Columbus program will begin here in neighborhoods, eliminating the source of sanitary overflows and basement backups. And we will also continue helping homeowners with their failing septic tank systems. On economic development, again, with Blueprint Columbus, providing many jobs for local contractors and businesses through infrastructure upgrades and smaller contracts and installation of rain gardens as part of those contracts. We'll also be in the Clintonville area here shortly, followed by Linden, Hilltop, and the Miller-Hilton areas. And as you know, we're also, with the growing population in our region and residential and business demands, we have several ongoing capital improvement projects at our water plants, which will add capacity and reliability. As far as safety, we have a lot of investments in our security upgrades at our plants, and we will also continue our street lighting program in our neighborhoods, where we'll be installing decorative and standard lights to promote vehicle safety and pedestrian safety, excuse me. Operational efficiencies will continue identifying unmetered water through our replacement and leak detection program, and we will also continue to provide water conservation tips and encourage conservation practices through our partnerships with Franklin Soil and Water Conservation District and the Mid-Ohio Planning Commission. And as far as early childhood development, as you're probably aware, we have our Children's Water Festival. We will continue that in 2017. It's an educational initiative to serve over 600 elementary students and promote environmental awareness of water resources. And finally, as far as diversity and inclusion, we have our Public Utilities Mentoring Program known as PUMP. Probably aware of that, which encourages professional growth by motivating and facilitating mentoring relationships between workers. Council President Pro Tem Tyson, members of council, thank you for the opportunity to summarize the Department of Public Utilities 2017 budget. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Assistant Director Lee. I don't think we have any questions. Just appreciate that you're focused on making sure that we certainly have clean drinking water and how important that is to our communities. Any questions? No questions? Okay. All right. As we close out this hearing, I want to highlight that with this budget, that it appears that we will continue to be fiscally prudent. We will always continue, it appears, to be watching our expenses and continuing to be conservative. This budget also sets aside dollars for a rainy day fund, and also $2.1 million will be put into reserves next year. In addition, this budget places a high priority on neighborhoods, and that is, this budget includes the newly created Neighborhoods Department and office space in the department in the Point of Pride in Linden. It also has funding to keep the city's 29 community recreation centers operating full-time, including our full-time hours. Also, there's a commitment, ongoing commitment to economic development. We understand the importance of attracting and retaining jobs. It also is making sure that our city is showcasing the importance of diversity and inclusion. This budget also is a focus on health. There is as Dr. Long mentioned, the opioid crisis in our community, looking at, and also of infant mortality. And so funding is also provided to continue the community-wide comprehensive harm reduction program to address heroin and opiate use. An additional $50,000 has been allocated to improve access to treatment and to provide infectious disease screenings and linkages to care. In terms of safety, the Department of Public Safety's budget, as you can see, is the budget that has a significant amount of the money from the city, so the priority is on this budget, has increased approximately $20 million over the 2016 budget, providing funds for for personnel, including new fire and police classes, non-lethal weapons, continued community mediation, implementation of the body-worn cameras, and funding for the Community Safety Initiative. Also, $150,000 for Narcan for the first responders to administer during heroin overdoses in our budget. These are the few areas I referenced, are only the highlights. As mentioned earlier, the city has continued funding for many important initiatives and services that are helping city residents to thrive. Over the next several weeks, City Council will hold hearings on the 2017 budget proposal. Following this hearing, there will be a public hearing for public service and transportation and small minority business development in the Neighborhoods Department. Tomorrow, Wednesday the 7th at 5 p.m. will be the public safety budget hearing. On Thursday, December the 8th, I will hold the Health and Human Services and Workforce Development budget hearings. Council plans to pass the budget in 2017 budget early in February. And before I conclude tonight's hearing, I want to thank, first of all, the Finance Director, Joe Lombardi, and his entire staff for presenting the budget. And also want to thank each of the directors and assistant directors that are here this evening. I appreciate you and thank you for providing information. Look forward to seeing you in the other hearings. Certainly want to thank you for the presentations, the visual and written presentations that you provided to this body. I want to thank my fellow council members and their staffs who serve our community with pride each and every day. I want to thank the City Council Legislative Research Office, especially Matt Erickson, who staffs the Finance Committee. I also want to thank, I see Michael Kessler, who leads the department, who's in council chambers. I want to thank my staff, Nicole Harper and Carl Williams, also the hardworking team at CTV who make these hearings possible, and finally the residents who allow us to do this work each and every day. And with that, this hearing is concluded. Thank you very much for being here.